Let me paint you a picture of paradise, at least what I thought was paradise until 8:47 a.m. on that Tuesday morning. I'm sitting on my marble terrace, steam rising from my Italian espresso, watching the Pacific Ocean stretch endlessly toward the horizon. My $2.3 million Malibu villa sits perched on these cliffs like a crown jewel, and after 30 years of building my tech empire from nothing, this moment of peace feels earned. The morning mist is just burning off the water, seagulls are calling in the distance, and the jasmine from my garden carries on that perfect California breeze. This is my sanctuary, my reward for decades of 18-hour days, hostile takeovers, and climbing from a garage startup to selling my company for 8 figures. But peace? That was about to become a luxury I couldn't afford. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write what you think about this in the comments section. My phone buzzes against the glass table, and I almost ignore it. Almost. But something about the aggressive vibration makes me glance down, and what I see makes my blood freeze in my veins. It's from Benjamin William, my daughter's husband, my supposed son-in-law, though I use that term loosely these days. Hey, old man. Me and the crew are coming to claim what's rightfully ours. We'll be there in 40 minutes. Hope you're ready to hand over the keys, because this gravy train ends today. Time for you to learn some respect. I read it once, twice, 3 times. The audacity hits me like a physical blow. This kid, this entitled, manipulative leech who's been bleeding my family dry for 3 years, thinks he can just text me threats and storm my home? My hand tightens around the phone until my knuckles turn white. The peaceful morning sounds fade into background noise as my mind shifts into a gear I haven't used in years. It's the same calculating focus that helped me crush competitors who underestimated the quiet guy with the spreadsheets. Benjamin has no idea what he just awakened. You see, I've been watching him, learning him. Every fake smile at family dinners, every investment opportunity he's pitched, every time he's treated my daughter like a stepping stone to my wallet. I've been taking notes. I stand up slowly, my Italian leather shoes clicking against the marble as I pace to the edge of my terrace. 40 minutes. He thinks that's enough time to catch me off guard, to overwhelm me with whatever crew he's assembled. But here's what Benjamin doesn't understand about successful men like me. We didn't get where we are by folding under pressure. We got here by turning pressure into diamonds. I take one last sip of my espresso, set the cup down with deliberate calm, and smile for the first time since reading that text. Game on, Benjamin. Game on. 40 minutes. That's what Benjamin gave me. 40 minutes to supposedly cower, pack my bags, and surrender everything I'd worked my entire life to build. I glance at my Rolex. 8:48 a.m. The Swiss timepiece that once marked board meetings and million-dollar deals now counts down to something far more personal. 39 minutes and 57 seconds until my world changes forever. But here's the thing about Benjamin William that he's never quite grasped. I don't just react. I calculate. And right now, those gears are turning faster than they have in years. Let me tell you about my son-in-law's pattern, because patterns are everything in business and war. 3 years ago, he charmed my daughter Kelsey at that UCLA alumni mixer. Designer suit, practice smile, all the right words about building a future together. I saw through it immediately, but love makes fools of us all, especially our children. First, it was the wedding. Just a small ceremony, Dad, Kelsey said. Suddenly, it's a $200,000 spectacle at the Beverly Hills Hotel because Benjamin wanted to give her the fairy tale she deserved. My checkbook disagreed, but I paid. A father's mistake. Then came the house in Santa Monica. Just to start her home until we get on our feet. $250,000 down payment. Again, I paid, thinking it was an investment in my daughter's happiness. The cryptocurrency scheme came next. Remember last Thanksgiving? Benjamin cornering me in my Connecticut study, the scent of roasting turkey drifting in while he paced around my antique desk like a caged predator. Those manicured hands gesturing wildly as he pitched his revolutionary blockchain opportunity. "This is generational wealth, Dad," he'd said, using that word, Dad, like a weapon. "Kelsey's future depends on this. You wouldn't want to hold back your own daughter's success, would you?" When I refused, I caught it, that flash of cold rage behind his blue eyes. The mask slipping just enough to reveal the calculating predator underneath. But it was my 65th birthday party in the Hamptons that really opened my eyes. Spring was in full bloom, cherry blossoms painting my Long Island estate pink and white, when Benjamin invited his fraternity brothers without asking. Turned my elegant celebration into a beer-soaked fraternity reunion. The final straw? He actually tried to auction off my 1982 Bordeaux collection to cover his gambling debts. My guests watched in horror as this kid attempted to liquidate my prized wine cellar like it was a garage sale. That's when I knew Benjamin wasn't just entitled. He was dangerous. 36 minutes now. I pace across my marble floors, each footstep echoing through the vaulted ceilings like a war drum. The morning light streams through my floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows that seem to dance with my growing determination. Benjamin thinks he knows me. The generous father-in-law. The soft touch who always writes the check. The old man who'll roll over when threatened. But that's where he's made his fatal miscalculation. I didn't build a tech empire by backing down from bullies. I didn't turn a garage startup into an 8-figure exit by being intimidated. And I sure as hell didn't survive 30 years of corporate warfare to be conquered by some entitled fraternity boy who thinks my life's work is his inheritance. 34 minutes. My phone sits on the marble table, Benjamin's threatening text still glowing on the screen. But next to it lies something he doesn't know about. Something I've been keeping in reserve for exactly this moment. A business card. Crisp, white, expensive paper. Marcus Rodriguez, attorney at law. I had 40 minutes to prepare. But the truth is, I've been preparing for this moment since that night in the Hamptons, watching Benjamin disrespect everything I'd built. Time to show him what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. 32 minutes left. But my mind drifts back 3 years to that perfect June day at the Beverly Hills Hotel. The day I should have trusted my instincts instead of my daughter's happiness. Picture this. Crystal chandeliers casting rainbow prisms across marble floors, 500 guests in designer gowns and tailored suits, and enough white roses to stock a florist for a month. It was everything Kelsey had dreamed of, and Benjamin had orchestrated it like a masterpiece. "Dad, isn't this incredible?" Kelsey whispered to me as we stood in the hotel's opulent lobby, her wedding dress trailing behind her like liquid moonlight. Her eyes sparkled with pure joy, and in that moment, I would have given her the world. But it was Benjamin's eyes I should have been watching. He glided through that reception like he owned the place, and in his mind, maybe he did. Designer tuxedo that cost more than most people's monthly rent, Rolex gleaming on his wrist, that practiced smile that never quite reached his eyes. He worked the room like a politician, but I noticed something unsettling. Every conversation ended the same way. Benjamin would lean in close to my business associates, lower his voice, and within minutes they'd be reaching for their phones. Investment opportunities, he called it. But I recognized the pattern. He was prospecting at his own wedding. "Mr. Thompson," I remember Marcus Chun, my old venture capital partner, pulling me aside near the champagne fountain. "Your new son-in-law just pitched me some crypto startup. Kid's got ambition. I'll give him that." My blood chilled. Benjamin was using my wedding gift, this $200,000 celebration, as his personal networking event. But the moment that should have been my wake-up call came during the father-daughter dance. As I spun Kelsey around the marble dance floor, Benjamin appeared beside us, that predatory smile fixed in place. "Thanks for making her dreams come true, Dad," he said, using that word like a key to unlock my wallet. This is just the beginning of what we can accomplish together as a family. Family. He said it like a business proposition. The venue coordinator mentioned you handled everything so generously. He continued, never missing a beat. Kelsey and I were discussing how amazing it would be to put that same energy into our future. Maybe something in real estate. I have some ideas that could really set us up. Right there, holding my daughter on her wedding day. This man was already calculating his next move. The champagne bubbles suddenly tasted flat in my mouth. Later, during the reception, I watched him charm my sister Patricia by the dessert table. Within 10 minutes, she was writing down information for her financial advisor. Then he cornered my nephew Trevor near the bar, discussing ground floor opportunities in emerging markets. The final red flag came when the photographer called for family portraits. As we gathered on the hotel's grand staircase, Benjamin positioned himself not beside Kelsey, but directly next to me. His hand landed on my shoulder with practiced familiarity. Get a good shot of the new dynasty, he told the photographer with that million-dollar grin. 3 generations of success. Dynasty. Like he'd built something instead of marrying into it. I should have seen it then. The way he studied the vintage Bordeaux selection, asking detailed questions about market values. The way he memorized my guest list, collecting business cards like trophies. The way he treated my generosity not as love, but as a preview of coming attractions. But love blinds us, doesn't it? My daughter was radiant, and I convinced myself Benjamin's ambition was just enthusiasm for their future together. 28 minutes now. That wedding wasn't a celebration. It was Benjamin's audition for the role of my heir. And I, playing the proud father, had given him a standing ovation. Now, 3 years later, he thinks it's time to collect his inheritance. Time to show him what happens when the performance ends and the real show begins. 26 minutes. But my mind pulls me back to last Thanksgiving, the moment Benjamin's mask finally slipped completely off. Connecticut in November is magical. My estate was dressed in autumn gold, the smell of roasting turkey and cinnamon rolls drifting through every room. Kelsey was in the kitchen with my housekeeper Maria, laughing over pie recipes, while the Macy's parade played on the living room television. It should have been perfect family time. Should have been. Instead, Benjamin cornered me in my oak-paneled study like a predator stalking prey. "Dad, we need to talk," he said, closing the heavy door behind him with that deliberate click that screams serious business. He'd changed from his casual sweater into a sharp navy blazer, costume change for the performance of his life. I was reviewing quarterly reports at my mahogany desk, the same desk where I'd signed my first million-dollar deal 30 years earlier. But Benjamin didn't care about family history. He had dollar signs in his eyes. "I've got an opportunity that's going to change everything for our family," he began, pacing in front of my floor-to-ceiling bookshelves like a shark circling wounded prey. Those manicured hands started gesturing wildly. His tell when he was about to lie through his teeth. "Cryptocurrency is the future, Dad. Specifically, Planet Coin. It's this revolutionary blockchain platform that's going to disrupt traditional banking forever." The sales pitch came smooth as silk. Charts on his phone, testimonials from industry experts, projected returns that would make Warren Buffett weep with envy. But I'd heard 1,000 pitches in my career, and this one stank of desperation wrapped in designer cologne. "All I need is 50,000 to get in at the ground floor," he continued, leaning against my desk like he owned it. "Think of it as an investment in Kelsey's future, in our future as a family." There it was, the manipulation tactic I'd watched him perfect over 2 years of marriage. Wrap greed in family loyalty, make rejection feel like betrayal. "Benjamin," I said carefully, setting down my reading glasses, "cryptocurrency is speculation, not investment. It's gambling with better marketing." His jaw tightened. For just a split second, the charming facade cracked, and I glimpsed something cold and calculating underneath. "Dad, with respect, Your generation doesn't understand digital assets. This isn't gambling. This is positioning ourselves for generational wealth. His voice carried that condescending edge I'd heard creeping in more frequently lately. Kelsey deserves security. He pressed on, moving to the window overlooking my gardens. She deserves to know her husband can provide for her future children. You wouldn't want to hold back your own daughter's success, would you? The audacity was breathtaking. He was essentially calling me a bad father for refusing to fund his get-rich-quick scheme. I've already committed to 3 other investors, he lied smoothly. Marcus from the wedding mentioned he's interested. Your nephew Trevor is seriously considering it. I'd hate for you to miss out on something this significant. That's when I saw his true nature. The way his blue eyes turned calculating. The practiced way he dropped familiar names to create false urgency. The entitled expectation that my wallet was his personal ATM. No, I said simply. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Benjamin's face went through a fascinating transformation. Surprise, anger, then back to that fake smile, but harder now. More desperate. Dad, I think you're making a mistake, he said, straightening his blazer with sharp, angry movements. This family needs to start thinking bigger. Kelsey and I have been discussing how we can really maximize the resources you've built. Resources? He said it like my life's work was a mining operation he was entitled to exploit. We've been thinking it might be time for you to consider more strategic decisions about the estate. You know, while you're still sharp enough to make them. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Play ball, or we'll question your mental capacity. I stood up slowly, all 6'2" of me, and watched him take an unconscious step backward. Thanksgiving dinner's ready, I said quietly. Let's go be grateful for what we already have. 23 minutes now. That conversation changed everything. Benjamin wasn't just greedy, he was dangerous. And today, he thinks he's finally found a way to take what he's always believed was rightfully his. Time to remind him that some turkeys don't go quietly to slaughter. I can't stop thinking about last spring, my 65th birthday, the day Benjamin crossed a line I never imagined anyone would dare cross. The Hamptons in May is poetry. Cherry blossoms painted my Long Island estate in delicate pink and white, the air thick with their sweet perfume. I'd planned an elegant afternoon celebration, close family, longtime business partners, champagne, and chamber music on the terrace overlooking the Sound. 65 years on this earth deserved dignity, didn't it? I should have known Benjamin had other plans when he insisted on helping with the guest list. Dad, you've been so generous to us, he'd said weeks earlier, scrolling through his phone with that calculating look. Let me handle some of the party planning. I know exactly how to make this special. Famous last words. The first red flag came when cars started arriving at 2 p.m., 2 hours early. Not just any cars, either. Souped-up BMWs with tinted windows, a lifted Jeep with mud flaps, music thumping from speakers loud enough to wake the dead. I watched from my library window as 8 young men in backwards baseball caps and designer sneakers spilled out onto my manicured lawn, carrying cases of beer and what looked like a portable DJ setup. Surprise. Benjamin appeared at my elbow, grinning like he'd just gifted me the crown jewels. I invited some of my UCLA brothers. Thought it was time they properly met the legendary Mr. Thompson. My blood pressure spiked. Benjamin, this is supposed to be a quiet family gathering. Dad, you're only 65 once. He clapped my shoulder with that fake familiarity I'd grown to despise. Live a little. These guys have been dying to meet you ever since I told them about your tech empire success story. Within an hour, my elegant birthday party had transformed into a fraternity reunion. The chamber quartet I'd hired was drowned out by hip-hop blasting from Bluetooth speakers. My carefully selected wine pairings sat ignored while these grown men chugged beer from red Solo cups on my antique Persian rugs. But the real horror came when my sister Claire arrived with her husband and their teenage daughter. "Richard," Claire whispered, pulling me aside near my prized rose garden. "What is happening here?" "One of those boys just asked my 15-year-old daughter if she wanted to party with them." I felt my chest tighten with rage. This wasn't just disrespect. This was dangerous. Then Benjamin outdid himself. Around 4 p.m., as my legitimate guests huddled in uncomfortable clusters trying to avoid the chaos, I heard Benjamin's voice booming from my wine cellar. "Gentlemen, feast your eyes on this collection. 1982 Bordeaux, 1995 Barolo. Some of these bottles are worth more than your car payments." I rushed downstairs to find him conducting an impromptu auction. My wines, bottles I collected over decades, each one tied to a memory, a celebration, a milestone, were being displayed like livestock at a county fair. "What am I bid for this beautiful 1989 Chateau Margaux?" Benjamin called out, holding up a bottle worth $3,000. "Starting at $500. Come on, guys, help me cover my Vegas losses." Vegas losses. He was gambling away my daughter's future and trying to recoup it by selling my life's passion. "Put that down," I said quietly, but my voice carried the authority of 30 years in boardrooms. Every head turned. The room went silent except for that damned music still pounding upstairs. Benjamin's face flushed red. "Dad, I'm just trying to. Put it down." He set the bottle down with shaking hands, but the damage was done. My family, my friends, my business associates had all witnessed this entitled child trying to auction off my possessions at my own birthday party. My nephew Trevor later told me he'd overheard Benjamin on the phone earlier, promising his friends they could network with some serious money at the party. I wasn't celebrating my birthday. I was being used as bait for his social climbing. That night, after the last drunk frat boy had stumbled out of my house, I stood alone in my vandalized wine cellar, looking at muddy footprints on my Italian marble, beer stains on my antique furniture, and cigarette burns on my terrace table. Kelsey found me there, tears in her eyes. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was planning this." I hugged my daughter, but over her shoulder, I made a silent vow. Benjamin had humiliated me once. He would never, ever do it again. 17 minutes now. Today, he thinks he's coming to finish what he started in the Hamptons. He thinks he can storm my sanctuary with his crew and take everything I've built. But this time, I'm ready for war. 15 minutes left. The memories fade and I'm back on my marble terrace. The Pacific waves still crashing below, but everything has changed. The peaceful morning coffee feels like a lifetime ago. That man sipping espresso and admiring his view? He was living in denial. Benjamin's text glows on my phone screen like a declaration of war. Me and the crew are coming to claim what's rightfully ours. 3 years of manipulation. 3 years of escalating audacity. 3 years of me making excuses, hoping he'd change, believing that deep down he actually cared about Kelsey. But this isn't another cryptocurrency scheme or wine auction stunt. This is a hostile takeover. I pace to the edge of my terrace, gripping the marble railing until my knuckles turn white. The morning breeze carries the scent of jasmine from my garden, the same garden Benjamin's fraternity brothers trampled during my birthday disaster. Every beautiful detail of my sanctuary feels suddenly fragile, threatened. The crew. That phrase keeps echoing in my mind. Not friends, not family, a crew. Like I'm some business to be liquidated, some territory to be conquered. My phone buzzes with another text. This time it's a group message, and I can see I'm not the only recipient. Operation Inheritance is a go. Old man's about to learn who really runs this family now. Bring cameras. This is going to be epic. Cameras. He's planning to film this. Document my humiliation for social media, probably. Turn my downfall into content for whatever pathetic online presence he's building. But that word, inheritance, that's what cuts deepest. He actually believes my life's work, everything I've built through 30 years of 18-hour days and calculated risks, belongs to him by default. Not earned, not gifted, inherited, like I'm already dead. I look out at the Pacific stretching endlessly toward the horizon, the same view that brought me peace just minutes ago. But now all I see is what I stand to lose. Not just the villa, not just the money, my dignity, my legacy, the respect I've spent a lifetime building, the wedding, the crypto scam, the Hamptons disaster. Each memory burns through me like acid, and I realize I've been fighting the wrong battle. I've been trying to manage Benjamin, contain his damage, protect family harmony. But Benjamin isn't interested in family. He's interested in conquest. 12 minutes now. I can hear them in the distance. Engines roaring up the canyon road, multiple vehicles moving fast. The sound echoes off the cliffs like approaching thunder, and something primal kicks in. That same survival instinct that carried me through decades of corporate warfare. This isn't about money anymore. This isn't about property or wills or inheritance. This is about respect, about boundaries, about whether a man can be driven from his own home by some entitled punk who thinks marriage certificates are ownership papers. I walk back inside, my Italian leather shoes clicking decisively against the marble floors. The sound echoes through my vaulted ceilings like a drumbeat. Every step feels purposeful now, calculated. Benjamin thinks he's coming to claim his prize. But he's made one critical miscalculation, the same mistake that sank countless competitors over the years. He's underestimated his opponent. The engines are getting louder. Dust clouds rise from my private drive. In 12 minutes, Benjamin William and his crew will storm my gates. But this time, I'm not the unprepared victim. This time, I'm ready. Game time. 10 minutes. As I stand in my study, surrounded by the artifacts of my success, framed patents on the walls, the Forbes cover featuring my company's IPO, awards from 3 decades of innovation, Benjamin's engines grow louder in the distance. But something inside me has shifted, something cold and calculating that hasn't stirred in years. Let me tell you how Richard Thompson built an empire, because Benjamin clearly doesn't understand who he's dealing with. 1987. I was 28, working 16-hour days in a Palo Alto garage with nothing but a second-hand computer and a revolutionary idea for data compression software. The tech giants laughed at me. Kid from nowhere thinks he can compete with IBM and Microsoft. They said. They underestimated me. Fatal mistake. While they focused on marketing budgets and corporate politics, I focused on one thing: solving problems they couldn't solve. My algorithm could compress files at rates that made their software look prehistoric. But here's what separated me from every other garage startup dreamer. I didn't just innovate. I anticipated. I spent 6 months studying patent law, trademark regulations, licensing agreements. While my competitors rushed to market, I built legal fortresses around my intellectual property. When Microsoft tried to steal my compression algorithm in 1991, I buried them in litigation that cost them $40 million in damages. That's lesson 1. Never fight on someone else's terms. Always prepare the battlefield in advance. Lesson 2 came in 1995 when Oracle attempted a hostile takeover of my company. They offered my shareholders double market value, thinking they could buy me out like some mom-and-pop shop. They had the money, the lawyers, the connections. What they didn't have was my secret weapon, patience and preparation. For 3 years prior, I'd been quietly acquiring shares of my own company through shell corporations, building an unassailable position. When Oracle made their move, I controlled 51% of the voting stock. Their billion-dollar takeover bid collapsed in 72 hours. That's when Forbes called me the quiet titan, the man who wins wars before his enemies know they're fighting. 8 minutes now. Lesson 3. In business, as in life, information is power. I've never made a major decision without knowing everything about my opponent's weaknesses, motivations, and escape routes. Which brings me to Benjamin William, UCLA graduate, cryptocurrency enthusiast, gambling addict. You see, while he's been plotting his inheritance operation, I've been conducting my own research. Did he really think I wouldn't investigate the man who married my daughter? Private investigator Marcus Flynn spent 6 months building a comprehensive file. Benjamin's gambling debts, $127,000 to 3 different Vegas casinos. His crypto investments, total loss of $89,000 over 2 years. His business ventures, 7 failed startups, each one funded by a different family member or friend. His real estate schemes, currently under investigation by the California Real Estate Commission for fraudulent practices. But here's the piece that changes everything. Benjamin doesn't just owe money to casinos. He owes money to people who break kneecaps when payments are late. According to Flynn's sources, he's got 2 weeks before some very unfriendly collectors come calling. Suddenly his operation makes perfect sense. This isn't about inheritance or family dynamics. This is about desperation. Benjamin needs my money to stay alive. 7 minutes. The engines are almost at my gate now. I can picture them. Benjamin in his BMW leading the charge, probably borrowed cars filled with his fraternity brothers, all of them thinking they're about to film the greatest social media coup in history. They have no idea I've been 3 moves ahead since the crypto Thanksgiving incident. That business card on my table, Marcus Rodriguez, attorney at law, isn't just my lawyer. He's the man who's been preparing something very special for this exact moment. Something that will make Benjamin's hostile takeover look like a children's game. I built my empire by turning my opponent's strengths into weaknesses, their confidence into overconfidence, their attacks into self-destruction. Benjamin thinks he's coming to take my castle, but I'm about to show him what happens when you challenge a titan who's been building traps for longer than you've been alive. Time to remind the world why they called me the Quiet Titan. The engines have stopped. They're here. 5 minutes. My phone rings exactly when I expect it to. Marcus Rodriguez doesn't make calls. He makes precision strikes. After 30 years of legal battles, I know that when Marcus calls during a crisis, he's not seeking permission. He's confirming the kill shot. Mr. Thompson, his voice is calm, professional, deadly. The packages are ready for delivery. All 3 sets. I lean against my mahogany desk, the same desk where I've signed billion-dollar deals and crushed hostile takeover attempts. Through my window, I can see car doors slamming in my driveway. Benjamin's voice carries across the morning air, loud and arrogant, giving orders to his crew like some discount general. How comprehensive? I ask Marcus, though I already know the answer. Complete nuclear option, sir. The trust amendments you requested 6 months ago are finalized and filed. The property transfer restrictions are ironclad. Most importantly, the emergency conservatorship petition is ready for immediate filing based on the evidence we've gathered. 6 months ago, while Benjamin was planning his cryptocurrency schemes, I was building legal walls he couldn't even see. Every family dinner, every fake smile, every time he called me dad, while calculating my net worth, I was documenting everything. The restraining orders? I ask, watching through the window as Benjamin gestures wildly at my front gate, probably explaining his foolproof plan to his fraternity friends. Signed and sealed by Judge Patricia Williams this morning. She was particularly interested in the harassment documentation and the gambling debt situation. The moment Mr. Williams steps foot on your property without permission, he's in violation of a court order. Judge Williams. I donated $50,000 to her re-election campaign last year, not because I expected favors, but because I believe in supporting competent public servants. Sometimes competence pays unexpected dividends. The inheritance modifications? My voice stays steady, but inside, My chest tightens with anticipation. Revolutionary, sir. The new trust structure ensures that any family member who attempts to claim assets through coercion, fraud, or legal action automatically forfeits all future inheritance rights. It's what we call a poison pill clause. The more aggressively he fights for your money, the less he's entitled to receive. Beautiful. Elegant. While Benjamin was studying crypto markets, I was studying him. Every tantrum, every manipulation attempt, every entitled demand was being carefully cataloged by Marcus's team. The final surprise? I ask, though I almost don't want to spoil it. Marcus chuckles, a rare sound from a man who treats legal warfare like classical music. The property deed revelation. Mr. William has been operating under a fascinating delusion, hasn't he? He seems to believe that marriage to your daughter grants him some sort of ownership claim to your estate. And the reality? The reality is that your properties are held in an irrevocable trust established 12 years ago, long before he entered the family. He has no legal claim whatsoever. Never did. The documentation proving this will be educational for him. I can hear Benjamin's voice getting closer to my front door. Footsteps on my marble steps. Multiple pairs of them. Marcus, there's something else you should know. He's not alone. He brought what he calls the crew. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. Home invasion? Marcus's voice sharpens immediately. Sir, with his gambling debts and the pressure he's under, this could escalate quickly. We've prepared for that scenario as well. Detective Ray Santos from LAPD is standing by. He owes you a favor from that charity fundraiser. One phone call, and you'll have squad cars at your gate in 4 minutes. Detective Santos, the man whose daughter's leukemia treatment I quietly funded 3 years ago. He never knew it came from me, but Marcus made sure the favor was remembered. Are you ready to do this, Mr. Thompson? Marcus asks, and I can hear the anticipation in his voice. He's been building this legal fortress for months, watching Benjamin dig his own grave with every entitled demand. Through my window, I see Benjamin raise his fist toward my front door. His crew spreads out across my lawn like they own the place. One of them is actually recording with his phone. Marcus, I say quietly, launch everything. With pleasure, sir. The doorbell rings. But it's not a plea for entry. It's Benjamin's death knell. 3 minutes. From my floor-to-ceiling windows, I watch the dust clouds rise from my private canyon road like smoke signals announcing war. The sound echoes off the cliffs, engines straining against the steep grade, rubber gripping asphalt with aggressive intent. Not one vehicle, not two. 4 distinct engine notes harmonizing in mechanical menace. Benjamin's BMW leads the charge, that obnoxious exhaust modification he installed last year announcing his presence like an air horn. Behind him, a lifted black Jeep Wrangler bounces over the road's natural curves, followed by what sounds like a muscle car, probably a Camaro or Mustang, and bringing up the rear, a heavy SUV with the deep rumble of a V8 engine. This isn't a family visit. This is an invasion force. I step back from the window and survey my study with the calm precision of a general preparing for battle. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. The mahogany desk, polished to a mirror shine, sits centered in the room like an altar of authority. Behind it, my leather chair, the same chair where I've negotiated $100 million deals and stared down corporate raiders twice Benjamin's age. On the desk's surface, 3 manila envelopes rest in perfect alignment, each one sealed, each one containing a different kind of ammunition. To my left, the restraining orders, fresh from Judge Williams' chambers, the ink barely dry on signatures that carry the full weight of California law. In the center, the trust documentation, 12 years of legal architecture that will shatter Benjamin's inheritance delusions like glass hitting concrete. To my right, the conservatorship petition, the nuclear option that could strip him of any claim to family assets permanently. My phone sits beside the papers. Detective Santos' direct number already programmed and ready. One touch. For minutes. Game over. The engines grow louder. Through the crystal-clear morning air, I can hear voices now. Benjamin's unmistakable tone carrying that same arrogant confidence he displayed at my birthday party. But there are other voices too. Younger. Hungrier. The kind of voices that turn bad ideas into disasters. I walk to my bar cart and pour myself 2 fingers of Macallan 25, not because I need liquid courage, but because some moments deserve to be marked with ritual. The scotch burns perfectly as it slides down, warming my chest with the kind of heat that comes from absolute certainty. 30 years ago, I learned that the most dangerous moment in any negotiation is right before you reveal your winning hand. That's when amateurs panic, when they show their cards too early or lose their nerve entirely. But professionals? We savor this moment. We let our opponents commit fully to their mistakes before we bury them. The dust clouds are visible now through my windows, billowing behind the vehicles like battle standards. I can make out individual cars through the haze. Benjamin's black BMW gleaming in the California sun, followed by that ridiculous Jeep with its oversized tires, then a red Camaro that probably belongs to one of his fraternity brothers, and finally a white Escalade that screams, rented for intimidation purposes. They're moving fast, too fast for my winding private road. Either Benjamin's adrenaline is overriding his common sense, or he's more desperate than even my private investigator suspected. Given his gambling debts and the time pressure he's facing, desperation makes perfect sense. 2 minutes. I adjust my cufflinks, platinum, engraved with my company logo from the IPO celebration 15 years ago, and return to my position behind the desk. The morning light streams through the windows at just the right angle, casting my study in golden authority while leaving my face partially in shadow. Theater matters in moments like this. The car doors start slamming in my driveway. Voices rise and fall in excited conspiracy. Footsteps crunch across my gravel drive with the rhythm of soldiers marching to battle. But they're marching into my fortress, not theirs. Let them come. 1 minute. The footsteps are at my door now, but my mind pulls me back 6 weeks ago, to the conversation that broke my heart and changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon in my Connecticut study. Rain drummed against the windows while I reviewed quarterly reports, the same routine I'd followed for decades. Then Kelsey walked in, and I knew immediately something was wrong. My daughter, my brilliant, compassionate daughter who'd inherited my analytical mind and her mother's gentle heart, stood in my doorway looking like she'd aged 10 years. Dark circles under her eyes, hands trembling as she clutched her coffee cup. The confident young woman who'd graduated summa cum laude from Stanford looked broken. "Dad, we need to talk about Benjamin." Those 6 words hit me like a sledgehammer. I set down my reading glasses and really looked at her for the first time in months. When had she gotten so thin? When had those worry lines appeared around her eyes? "Sit down, sweetheart," I said, gesturing to the leather chair across from my desk, the same chair she'd occupied as a little girl, telling me about school plays and science projects. But she remained standing, pacing like a caged animal. "He's been lying to me, Dad. About everything. The investments, the business deals, the gambling." Her voice cracked on that last word, and my chest tightened with paternal rage. Not at her, never at her, but at the man who'd put that pain in my daughter's voice. "How much does he owe?" I asked quietly. "More than we have. More than we'll ever have." She finally sat down, collapsing into the chair like her strings had been cut. "He told me it was under control. He told me the crypto investments were safe. He told me his business ventures were about to pay off. The same lies he'd been feeding me. The same manipulations. But hearing them filtered through my daughter's anguish made them unbearable. "Kelsey, why didn't you come to me sooner?" She looked up with eyes full of tears and something worse, shame. Because I knew you'd been right about him from the beginning. Because I was too proud to admit I'd married a man who sees our family as an ATM. Because I thought I could fix him. There it was. The terrible truth we'd both been avoiding. My daughter, my incredibly intelligent daughter, had been trying to save a man who was systematically destroying her life. He keeps asking about your will, Dad. About the inheritance timeline. About whether the properties are really held in trusts. Her hands shook as she spoke. Last week he suggested I should ask you to sign some papers. Something about modernizing the estate planning for tax purposes. My blood turned to ice. Benjamin wasn't just planning financial manipulation. He was recruiting my own daughter as an accomplice. What did you tell him? I told him I'd think about it. But Dad. She leaned forward, desperation creeping into her voice. I think he's planning something. Something bigger than just asking for money. He's been making phone calls, meeting with his old fraternity brothers. They keep talking about taking action and claiming what's rightfully theirs. That's when I knew. My daughter wasn't just married to a scam artist. She was married to someone who was planning to destroy our entire family for money he'd never earned. Kelsey, I said carefully, what do you want to do? The question hung in the air like smoke. My daughter stared at her hands, and when she finally looked up, I saw something that terrified me more than Benjamin's schemes. Resignation. I don't know, Dad. If I leave him, he'll make it ugly. He'll try to take half of everything I have. He knows things about our family, about your business dealings. He's threatened to. She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Threatened to what? To go public. To the media. He says he has information that could damage your reputation, hurt your legacy. I don't know if it's true, but she couldn't risk finding out. My daughter was trapped, held hostage by her own love and loyalty. That's when I made my decision. Not just to stop Benjamin, but to save my daughter from a marriage that was slowly killing her spirit. Sweetheart, I said, standing up and moving around the desk to embrace her. Let Daddy handle this. Now, 30 seconds from confrontation, I'm not just fighting for my property or my dignity. I'm fighting for my daughter's freedom. The doorbell rings. It doesn't ring twice. It doesn't need to. Because Benjamin William doesn't wait for invitations. He takes what he believes belongs to him. The front door explodes, open with the sound of expensive wood-hitting marble. No key. No permission. Just raw entitlement smashing through my security like it's made of paper. My state-of-the-art alarm system doesn't even have time to process the intrusion before Benjamin's voice fills my foyer. Richard, get your ass down here. We need to talk. I remain seated behind my mahogany desk, fingers steepled, watching the chaos unfold through my study's open doorway. The manila envelopes sit perfectly aligned in front of me. 30 years of corporate warfare taught me one crucial lesson. Let your opponent reveal their strategy before you reveal yours. Heavy footsteps thunder across my Italian marble floors. Not just Benjamin's designer loafers, multiple pairs of shoes, different weights, different rhythms. Combat boots, sneakers, the unmistakable squeak of new athletic shoes on polished stone. Then they appear in my doorway like a pack of hyenas circling wounded prey. Benjamin leads the charge, looking exactly like the entitled predator I've come to know. Designer jeans, $1,000 jacket, hairstyled with that casual arrogance that screams, trust fund baby. Except he's never had a trust fund. That's what this is really about. Behind him, for young men I recognize from social media photos and family gatherings. Tyler Nash, Benjamin's UCLA fraternity president, built like a linebacker with the intelligence of a brick. Connor Walsh, the trust fund kid who bankrolled half of Benjamin's failed business ventures. Brett Morrison, gambling addiction, 3 DUIs, daddy issues deeper than the Pacific. And bringing up the rear, Jake Torres, the videographer, phone already recording, capturing every moment for whatever social media circus Benjamin has planned. "There he is," Benjamin announces, gesturing toward me like I'm a trophy he's about to claim. The great Richard Thompson, hiding in his ivory tower while his family suffers. I don't stand. I don't react. I simply observe, the same way I used to study hostile takeover attempts in boardrooms filled with men twice Benjamin's age and 10 times his intelligence. "Benjamin," I say calmly, my voice carrying the authority of 3 decades in corporate warfare. "Gentlemen, please, come in. Have a seat." I gesture toward the leather chairs arranged in front of my desk, the same chairs where I've negotiated billion-dollar deals and crushed competitors who thought they could intimidate me. Benjamin laughs, a harsh sound that echoes off my vaulted ceilings. "Have a seat? Old man, you don't seem to understand the situation here. We're not here for a friendly chat." He strides toward my desk with predatory confidence, his crew fanning out behind him like backup dancers in some twisted music video. Tyler cracks his knuckles. Connor adjusts his designer watch. Brett bounces on his toes like a boxer warming up. Jake keeps filming, capturing every moment of what Benjamin clearly believes will be my humiliation. "This house will be mine," Benjamin declares, placing his hands flat on my desk and leaning forward with practiced intimidation. "Kelsey deserves better than watching her father hoard wealth while her husband struggles. This family needs new leadership, and I'm here to provide it." The audacity is breathtaking. He's standing in my study, surrounded by awards and patents representing 30 years of innovation, speaking to me like I'm some doddering old fool who's lost touch with reality. "New leadership," I repeat slowly, letting the words hang in the air like smoke. Interesting phrase. "Tell me, Benjamin, what qualifies you to lead this family?" His jaw tightens. Behind him, Tyler shifts his weight aggressively. Connor's hand moves toward his jacket pocket. Brett's eyes dart around the room, probably calculating which antiques would fetch the highest prices. Jake zooms in on Benjamin's face, capturing the moment for posterity. "I'm married to your daughter," Benjamin snarls. "I'm the next generation. And unlike you, I understand what this family could become with proper management." Proper management. From a man who's gambled away his daughter's savings and borrowed money from dangerous people to fund cryptocurrency fantasies. I lean back in my chair, completely relaxed, and smile for the first time since they arrived. "Please," I say again, gesturing to the chairs. "Sit down. I think you're going to want to be seated for what comes next." Something in my tone makes them all pause. For just a moment, uncertainty flickers across Benjamin's face. Good. Let the doubt begin. The doubt doesn't have time to grow, because that's when the cavalry arrives. Car doors slam outside. But these aren't the aggressive sounds of Benjamin's invasion force. These are measured, professional, purposeful. The sound of people who belong here. Benjamin spins toward the window, and I watch his face drain of color. Through the floor-to-ceiling glass, 3 black SUVs are visible in my circular driveway. Not rental cars or borrowed rides, official vehicles with government plates and radio antennas. "What the hell?" Tyler starts, but his voice dies when the first figure appears at my study door. Marcus Rodriguez, attorney at law, immaculate in his charcoal suit, briefcase in hand, followed by a woman I don't recognize carrying a notary seal. Behind them, 2 LAPD officers in full uniform, their presence transforming my study from a family dispute into a legal proceeding. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Marcus says with professional courtesy, then turns to Benjamin with ice-cold precision. "Mr. William. Gentlemen, I trust we're all having an educational morning." Benjamin's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. His crew shuffles nervously, suddenly very aware that their social media adventure has taken a serious legal turn. "Who the hell are you?" Benjamin manages to stammer. "Marcus Rodriguez, attorney for Mr. Thompson." and you are currently trespassing on private property. Marcus sets his briefcase on my desk and opens it with deliberate ceremony. But more importantly, you are operating under several fundamental misunderstandings about your legal position. He withdraws the first document, thick, official, bound in legal blue. This is the irrevocable trust established 12 years ago, placing this property and all associated assets beyond the reach of inheritance claims, legal challenges, or hostile takeover attempts. Benjamin snatches the document, scanning pages with growing desperation. "This is impossible," Kelsey said. Mrs. William was never informed of the trust structure as a standard practice for protective asset management. Marcus's voice cuts like a scalpel. "You have no legal claim to this property, Mr. William. You never did." The notary steps forward. "I'm Linda Chun, certified notary public. These documents have been properly filed with the state of California and are legally binding." I watch Benjamin's world collapse in real time. His hands shake as he flips through pages of legal language that might as well be written in Sanskrit. Behind him, his crew exchanges glances that scream, "Abort mission." Officer Santos, the detective whose daughter's medical bills I quietly handled, steps forward with practiced authority. "Mr. William, you and your associates are hereby served with trespassing notices. You have 5 minutes to vacate this property voluntarily, or you will be arrested." "This is bullshit." Benjamin explodes, throwing the trust documents on my desk. "I'm family. I have rights." "Actually," Marcus says, withdrawing a second document, "your rights just became significantly more complicated." He hands Benjamin a restraining order with Judge Williams' official seal. "You are now legally prohibited from contacting Mr. Thompson, entering his properties, or making any claims against his assets." Connor Walsh, the trust fund kid, is the first to break ranks. "Dude, this is insane. You said this was legal. You said his daughter agreed to this." Tyler adds, backing toward the door. Brett Morrison is already pulling out his phone. "My dad's lawyer said never get involved in family court stuff. I'm out." But it's Jake Torres who delivers the killing blow. He stops filming, looks directly at Benjamin, and says, "Bro, you lied to all of us. You said she was okay with this." That's when I see her. Kelsey appears in my study doorway, tears streaming down her face, carrying a suitcase and looking like her world has shattered. Not because of what I've done, but because of what she's finally understood about the man she married. "Benjamin," she whispers, her voice breaking with 3 years of suppressed pain. "How could you?" The room goes silent except for the sound of my daughter's quiet sobs. Benjamin turns to her with desperate eyes, reaching out like a drowning man grasping for driftwood. "Kelsey, baby, you don't understand. This was for us. For our future." "No," she says firmly, surprising everyone including herself. "This was for you. It was always for you." Officer Santos checks his watch. "Mr. William, you have 2 minutes." Benjamin's crew is already heading for the door, mumbling apologies and excuses. Tyler claps him on the shoulder, not in support, but in farewell. Connor shakes his head in disgust. Brett just walks away. Jake pockets his phone without another word. Within 60 seconds, Benjamin Williams stands alone in my study, surrounded by legal documents that prove he never had any claim to anything, facing a daughter whose love he's finally exhausted through his own greed. "Game over," I say quietly. The lesson has been delivered. The silence after Benjamin's exit is profound. Officer Santos escorts him to his BMW with the kind of professional courtesy reserved for people who are one signature away from jail time. No handcuffs, yet, but the message is crystal clear. Benjamin William is no longer welcome in my world, my family, or my life. Through my study window, I watch him climb into his car with none of the arrogant swagger he displayed an hour ago. His designer jacket hangs crooked, his perfectly styled hair disheveled, his face pale with the realization that his grand scheme has collapsed into a legal nightmare. The BMW's engine starts with that same obnoxious rumble, but now it sounds desperate rather than intimidating. Dust kicks up as he accelerates down my private road. Too fast again, just like his approach. But this time he's not charging toward conquest. He's fleeing in disgrace. Marcus Rodriguez finishes packing his briefcase with the methodical precision of a surgeon completing a successful operation. The restraining order is active immediately, he tells me. The trust documentation is filed and sealed. If he attempts any further contact or legal action, we'll move forward with the conservatorship petition. I nod, watching the dust clouds settle in the canyon below. And Kelsey? That's her decision to make. But she's protected now. He can't touch any family assets, and if he violates the order, Marcus shrugs. Well, let's just say his gambling creditors won't be his biggest problem anymore. After the officers and legal team depart, it's just Kelsey and me in my study. She sits in the leather chair across from my desk, the same chair where she used to tell me about school projects and teenage heartbreaks. But now she looks older, wiser, and infinitely sadder. Dad, I'm so sorry, she begins, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. I should have listened to you from the beginning. I should have seen through his lies. I move around the desk and pull up a chair beside her, the same way I did when she was 7 and needed comfort after a nightmare. Sweetheart, love makes us blind sometimes. That's not your fault. That's human nature. But I let him manipulate me. I almost helped him steal from you. Her voice breaks on the word steal, and I can see the full weight of Benjamin's betrayal hitting her. You didn't almost help him, I correct gently. You came to me when you realized what was happening. You chose family over a marriage that was destroying you. That took incredible courage. She looks up with those intelligent eyes that remind me so much of her mother. I think I need to file for divorce, Dad. I can't stay married to someone who would try to destroy my own father for money. Only you can make that choice, Kelsey. But whatever you decide, you'll always have a home here. You'll always be protected. She hugs me then, the kind of fierce embrace that speaks louder than words. My daughter is coming home, not just physically, but emotionally. Benjamin's 3-year stranglehold on her heart has finally been broken. 2 hours later, I'm back on my marble terrace where this whole ordeal began. The afternoon sun paints the Pacific in shades of gold and amber, the same ocean that witnessed this morning's chaos now reflecting perfect tranquility. I raise a glass of 1989 Chateau Margaux, the same vintage Benjamin tried to auction at my birthday party, and take a slow, appreciating sip. The irony isn't lost on me. This bottle, saved from his desperate schemes, now celebrates his defeat. Sometimes protecting the people you love means drawing hard boundaries. Sometimes kindness looks like cruelty to those who mistake generosity for weakness. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your family is teaching them the difference between earned respect and entitled demands. Benjamin William thought he could storm into my villa and claim what was never his. He learned today that some fortresses can't be conquered, some men can't be intimidated, and some lessons are taught only through complete defeat. The waves crash against the cliffs below, eternal and peaceful, washing away all traces of this morning's invasion. My sanctuary is secure. My daughter is safe. My legacy remains intact. The lesson has been delivered decisively. And now, finally, I can enjoy my wine in peace. What would you have done in my situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have been this ruthless with family? Or would you have handled Benjamin differently? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories where entitled people learn they can't mess with the wrong person. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.